The Chinese have grown tea for thousands of years and have preciously guarded the tea plant and methods for growing and processing tea. Dutch traders first brought tea to Europe in the 17th century, but only the English royalty and aristocracy could afford to drink tea. As tea became cheaper, the English began hosting afternoon teas to tide them over between lunch and dinner. Taking tea became a social construct of food, tea, fashion, and etiquette among friends and acquaintances. England traded Indian-grown opium to China in exchange for tea, but then they realized it would be cheaper to cut China out of the equation altogether and grow tea themselves in India. As the demand for tea in England increased, they started using American-built clipper ships, reducing the travel time between Asia and England from 18 months to just 3 or 4 months. By the 20th century, fine hotels started serving afternoon tea to the public, and taking tea in hotels became fashionable for anyone who could afford it. After World War II, many people in England no longer had time for afternoon tea. It was no longer practical. People wanted convenience. When tea bags were invented, the English took to them, but they gave up part of the culture and ritual of taking tea. Air travel and the internet have made the finest teas and tea products available worldwide, and the ritual of tea has never entirely disappeared in England. I talked to several people in tea rooms around Denver and asked how much influence they believe English tea culture has here.
In the last few years, it's really come a long way, and a lot of little towns outside Denver proper have tea shops. My group of friends, before children influenced our day-to-day lives, we would go to tea at least once a month.
I think it's very important for the European community in Denver, and there are quite a few different tea houses and tea rooms around.
Does it give you a sense of English community or English tradition that you retain here?
Yes, somewhat.
We've got a few tea rooms around here. We've got one in Parker, the Tea Leaves. There's a couple in Littleton, Englewood.
There are no less than 25 tea shops around Denver, and from my house alone, I could probably visit 8 or 9 of them in one day.
Yeah, well, I think tea rooms in Denver, there's a big, broad cross-section.
His store concentrates on high-quality loose-leaf tea, while Jerry's concentrates on imported packaged food from England.
With the food we have here, the meat pastas and stuff, it's just a taste of home, really.
And while you can have delicious food at both, places like the Brown Palace in Denver focus on the experience of afternoon tea. At English Tea Leaves in Parker, I asked owner Rob Ridge whether his customers were mostly women or men. He said the majority were women, but men are his biggest buyers of tea to brew at home.
My husband would say it is an old lady event, but I know a lot of young women and even college students that are starting to get into the habit of having tea with their friends.
You have the older grandmother coming with the daughter, and then bringing the teenager, starting up from kind of a 10, 11-year-old girl to have English tea.
My sister-in-law started taking my daughter to tea when she was 6. At this point in my research, I thought going to tea with her was such a good idea, I decided to put together an afternoon tea of my own. Looking at everything on the table today, what do you want to try first?
Well, like I said before, I like the sweets, but to pace myself, I probably have a couple of cucumber sandwiches. Then I go right away into scones, then sweets, then trifles, then cookies, and all of that.
You move your way up the tray?
Basically, yeah.
Has the coffee culture in America that we talked about earlier helped or hurt the English tea here in Denver?
I don't think it's hurt us.
An English tea room is more refined.
This is not so refined, but it is one place that's filled with plenty of men. Traditional English tea etiquette is very precise. But is it called a scone or a scone? Does the tea go in the cup first or the milk? Do stir, but don't touch the sides of the cup with a spoon. Do place the spoon on the saucer behind the cup. Don't cool your tea in the saucer. Don't drink from the saucer. Don't cradle the cup in your hands as if to warm them. Don't swirl the tea like a glass of wine. Don't hold the cup by putting your fingers through the handle like a mug. Do pinch the handle with 2 fingers. Don't take lemon and milk together. Don't hang lemon off the side of the cup like an iced tea. Pinky up, pinky down. Do use milk in your tea. Don't use cream.
Now, darling, do you take milk or lemon?
Oh, cream, please.
Cream?
Oh, milk.
Milk.
That's fine.
And 1 or 2 lumps of sugar.
Do you have honey?
Honey?
2 lumps of sugar. Be fine.
If you're interested in going for an English tea experience, just go, enjoy.
I talked to several people I know who have never been to tea, and I asked them about their perceptions on the subject.
It's fairly rigid and set kind of ceremony, necessitates the right equipment and the right kind of tea and the right kind of food.
I think it's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind doing something like that around here. I enjoy tea. I enjoy a snack with my tea. I'd do it.
I don't really have too many perceptions of tea other than a bunch of people gathering and drinking tea and eating crumpets. Don't even really know what a crumpet is. I'm assuming some sort of biscuit, but I like biscuits, so I guess that'd be good.
Tea is such an important cornerstone to English life. In every English novel for forever, you basically get, the cup of tea is what someone takes to either wake up, relax, or it's just a facet of their life.
And then I asked him if they would go to an afternoon tea and if they would pay what could be up to $40 for it.
Would I? Sure. I would like to, but no, I would not pay $40 or $50 a person to go at all.
I wouldn't mind going to one. I've never been, but I would want to go at least so I can say I've gone to one of these things once.
Sure, I wouldn't mind. I think it'd be fun.
I would definitely not pay $40 to $50 to go to tea. If someone was paying for me to go, I would go.
A friend of mine had tea at her house during the royal wedding, and I wondered how much do current events in England affect the English tea culture here.
The interest will grow an awful lot when you think about the royal wedding and the anniversary of the Queen, and now of course the Olympics that are going to be happening in England.
We had standing room only for the royal wedding. It was a buffet. We recorded the royal wedding. We were packed.
English tea businesses here seem to benefit from current events in England, but what about English tea culture in England?
But back in England, unfortunately now, a lot of Americans think the English know a lot about tea, that they drink good tea, and they drink a lot of it. And only one of those is true. They drink a lot of it. 95% of the tea in England is tea bags, and unfortunately it's gone the cost route, not the quality route. And when we started our company 10 years ago, we only knew the English method, but over the years we've progressed so that now we use teapots with infusers, we use timers, and we use warmers, and it gets a much better result.
These days a lot of people think of politics when they hear the word tea party, but I think this kind of tea party is a lot more fun, especially when you slow down and have good company to enjoy it with. In Portrait of a Lady, Henry James wrote, "There are few hours in life more agreeable than the hours dedicated to the ceremony known as afternoon tea." While some people may never try an afternoon tea, I am glad there are many places in Denver to go to have a traditional English tea.